All right. Welcome everyone to this webinar on building retuning for downtown buildings. My name is Alana Colvin and I am an Energy and Environment Technical Advisor with PennTAP, and I will be co-hosting today's presentation. Several quick items of business before we get started. If you are having any technical difficulties hearing the presentation, please use the chat pad now and we'll try to correct them promptly. Also, you can use the chat pad to ask questions throughout the webinar. However, we have a planned Q&A at the end of our presentation, so you can save your questions until the end and we will address them then. The presentation will last for approximately 50 minutes, followed by a Q&A period. This webinar is being recorded and will be loaded on the PennTAP website. The intent of today's presentation is to introduce and briefly discuss how to combine energy efficiency strategies with preventative maintenance to achieve your energy saving goals at the lowest possible cost. Before we continue, go check the chats. I don't see any at this time, so I'm going to move forward. All right, and so joining us today is Autumn Seacrest from Sustainable Pittsburgh. Autumn will be discussing the programs at Sustainable Pittsburgh and benchmarking with Portfolio Manager. Thank you, Autumn, for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alana.
Wonderful. I'm excited. All right. The agenda for today's webinar includes going over some background on PennTAP, introducing building retuning and its phases, discussing some investigation practices, sharing some implementation strategies, and then Autumn's going to sum up benchmarking with Portfolio Manager and discuss a bit about Sustainable Pittsburgh as well. The objective of today's webinar is to provide you with enough background and guidance about building retuning to support your own building retuning measures and sustainability practices at your own facility. The Pennsylvania Technical Assistance Program, or PennTAP, at Penn State is a statewide technical assistance organization charged with supporting Pennsylvania businesses and anchor institutions, including manufacturing, municipalities, educational institutions, entrepreneurs, and economic development agencies. As a department within Penn State, PennTAP offers unique access to abundance of resources from one of the top universities in the country, including faculty, staff, and students. PennTAP can also provide clients with assistance from a rich network of government entities and private organizations. PennTAP focuses on helping Pennsylvania businesses through two primary areas of expertise. We have energy and environment services as well as innovation services. Since being founded in 1965, we have delivered services and solutions to many Pennsylvania businesses and professionals, creating a legacy of documented economic impact within the state and positive returns on investment to funding partners. In the past 10 years, PennTAP has worked with more than 3,700 organizations who have in turn reported approximately $300 million in economic benefits and the creation or retention of more than 4,000 Pennsylvania jobs. Our mission is to engage, empower, and educate Pennsylvania organizations through technical assistance and Penn State expertise and resources. As mentioned, we have the two areas of expertise under energy and environment. We have pollution prevention and energy efficiency assessments, the P2E2 assessments. Then we have the economy, energy, and environment E3 projects. These projects combine lean manufacturing with the P2E2 assessments. We provide energy management systems, ENMS support, and we also have building retuning. Under the innovation side, we have product and process improvement for any business, supporting the Learning Factory through Penn State's Engineering College, and we focus on student engagement, such as supporting students with entrepreneurship opportunities. This slide outlines our 2018 energy team activities. We have completed 53 on-site P2E2 assessments, E3 events, BRT sessions, and EMS trainings. We have supported $2.8 million in economic benefits. We have reduced 1.5 million kilowatt hours in greenhouse gas emissions, and we have engaged, coached, mentored, and educated over 150 Penn State students. On the innovation side, we have the following efforts. Each year, the results grow to larger impacts. By partnering with Invent Penn State initiative, our ability to help organizations and entrepreneurs has broadened significantly around the whole Commonwealth. We have seen 34 jobs saved or created. Over 300 students have participated in programs such as the INCU program, which awarded $30,000 to student-based startups. We have supported 46 Learning Factory projects and have recognized $2.1 million in economic benefits. Also, I'd like to mention that if you have any questions about our technical assistance in either focus area, I encourage you to contact PennTAP and we can see how we can assist your organization. So, what is building retuning? Building retuning, or BRT, is a prescriptive approach to identify and correct no-cost or low-cost building operational problems that lead to energy waste. The principles of BRT are simple. If you don't need it, turn it off. If you do need it, run it efficiently. Your aim is to learn your building's personality so you can get the results you're looking for. Know where your occupants are and at what time of day. Take time to adjust your controls on your energy systems to reflect your real needs. Also support continuous training, creating new positive behaviors so you are successful in reaching your goals to reduce energy costs. There are 5 phases to BRT. First, we have data collection. Information is collected in data collection, tracking down what you have installed and related building information. This data will be useful when planning your walkthrough. Second phase is the walkthrough or investigation phase. After you've collected the data, it's time to investigate. Look at all building conditions and operations. You want to investigate both during the heating season and the cooling season to see if everything is operating properly. You want to log all information and observations during that walkthrough. This will help capture any opportunities and ultimately help you calculate potential energy savings. Implementation phase is the application of your prescriptive retuning measures. Then documentation is the reporting of your retuning findings and your impacts. You have found opportunities throughout your facility. You know what you want to do for implementation to fix the identified problems, and now you document and calculate what the savings would be and rank your projects so that you can select which ones to pursue going forward. After you've initiated the first phases of BRT and you've implemented some projects, your future goals will include continuous improvement and sustainability measures. In this presentation, we are going to focus on the savings that can be recognized from the low-cost, no-cost implementation. But first, we're going to go through each one of these steps very briefly. So in step 1, data collection, is worth taking time to collect the necessary information so that you can trend and plan a building walkthrough for the investigation phase. The type of data you're looking to collect, you want to collect as much as you can. What is the size of your building, the age, the type of building? Look for your meters and your utility bills, hours of various operations. Do you run any specialized hours, such as like holidays or events? Do you have HVAC or ventilation zones? Consider their timing. Extra useful information can include as-built and construction documentation, O&M manuals, sequence of operation standards, types of equipment, recent repairs. After the data is collected, then you want to start to profile that information you have for your current energy consumption and operational practices. A way to profile your data is by benchmarking. Benchmarking your energy consumption will give you a better understanding of where your energy is going and help you identify where to focus your attention. Autumn is going to go into more detail about how to get your data into a benchmarking system, Portfolio Manager. The investigation phase, your goal is to identify operational problems and energy saving opportunities. In the investigation phase, you want to walk down your major building operations. These operations will vary depending on what type of building you have or what type of business you run. But in general, you have your building envelope, you have your HVAC systems and controls, air distribution, lighting systems and controls, hot water, office equipment, and indoor environmental conditions. Information collected in this step is used to identify those operational problems and helps you create a plan for implementation of the retuning measures. It is not the goal to solve issues during this phase. We will later prioritize the findings that you have found from the implementation phase. A walkthrough can feel very ambiguous in nature. If you are unfamiliar with what to do or what to inspect, I recommend viewing the EPA site on indoor air quality. This site has a variety of resources. The EPA has a focus on schools and air quality for the youth. However, you can see that this is one of their walkthrough checklists. Their resources are non-specific and are meant to be expanded upon. All facilities can relate to this information. And it also eliminates the daunting task of starting from scratch. While completing your investigation, we recommend you take a few low-cost tools with you to help uncover any issues. There are many smart tools available nowadays and are useful in building retuning to measure temperature, humidity, airflow, and air pressure. To find problems like air leaks, missing insulation, or even electrical overloads and power lines, a Seek thermal infrared camera can be used. They're small and portable, and they can be used with several smart devices, smartphones. The blue devices seen here are environmental loggers, and they can connect with your smart device through Bluetooth. Through each of these apps, you can set up your tool, name the tool, take data. You can program the blue tools to take data once an hour or once a day. You can pull that data into when you're within Bluetooth range, and you can dump that information into an Excel sheet, which you can then plot for trending analysis. The cost of these tools, the Seek Thermal is about $250. The one picture on the right-hand side, top right, those individuals are about $50 each, and then the other blue tools vary between $150 to $250, all within affordable range for that data. To take advantage of these smart tools, you will need to download these apps to your smart device. Seek Thermal is the app for the infrared camera, and CPS Link is the app for the AAB HVAC smart tools. Both of these apps are free, and you can download them to your device prior to buying any of the products if you want to check them out. So what does a completed walkthrough look like? After you've finished your checklist and made various notes on your finding, it's good practice to compare what you have in order to understand the magnitude of these projects. So you can see that there's columns labeled as effort, and this refers to the labor and or cost required to implement the building retuning measure. Low refers to low effort, such as a few hours to implement, and minimal cost, while high refers to high effort and more costly expenditures. Rule of thumb, low is under $1,000, medium is $1,000 to $5,000, and high is over $1,000. In general, these measures require high effort take longer and may be considered retrofits in certain circumstances. Similarly, the column labeled as potential savings refers to the savings opportunities for that energy use. If the building retuning measure is related to lighting, the energy savings percentage is only a percent of that energy used for lighting, so not a percent of all electricity energy used in the building. In general, low is expected savings that are less than 5%. Medium is in a range of 5 to 10% savings, and then high means energy savings between 10 to 30%. In this case, this is examples of different facilities and what we saw when we walked through, and they're very common. Missing insulation on hot water, lights are on after hours, and building envelope, looking around, repairing any holes that you see, making sure that your foundation is intact. Note that most building opportunities will be low to medium effort, as well as the similar savings. If you find a large effort, high savings project, this will more than likely be a one-time project, such as a retrofit type of project. Such as you can see in this case, we had an auditorium with lighting. They had to bring in several machines to change out that lighting. If they could change out their metal halides to be LED, They would have high energy savings associated with electricity and lighting, and they would also lower the maintenance costs of bringing in the lifts over and over again to change out the metal halides. So once they become LED, the effort to maintain those will become lower, and the potential savings of changing out those bulbs in future instances will be also lower. But in this case, for the first time, it will be a medium project and a medium-high savings. We also want to highlight various energy-saving achievements made by other facilities. BRT includes sharing your knowledge with others so that those facilities can benefit from energy-saving opportunities. This is just a list of what others have done and have been successful. You can see that these efforts are medium and high, and the potential savings are medium and high. So a lot of these efforts are a one-time effort, but these were the top priorities for those facilities to change out. In most cases, we have a lot of LED conversion, but we also have some creative HVAC and fan projects that took place, including hot water too. All kinds of different things that people took advantage of. The next step in BRT is to decide what to implement. This is a critical step because not everything will be possible immediately. So taking that moment to see what issues or potential issues you have and deciding on how best to fix those issues will create a priority plan for the team to work towards. There will be what must do, and there will be the nice to haves. Over the next few slides, we're going to discuss different building retuning measures, so no cost, low cost opportunities found during walkthroughs and their savings values if you were to follow up and implement. A common opportunity includes reviewing the heating and cooling system schedules. In this chart, the natural gas was reviewed for a small 2-story office building. The boiler and the hot water tank inside this building were the only systems connected to the natural gas lines. After reviewing the bills with the client, it was asked if the client needed to turn on the boiler when they did. They turned it on from mid-October and finished up in mid-April. The facility also had a heat pump, and they also had reservoir heaters in the facility as supplemental heating. If the facility could wait and hold off on starting the boiler until mid-November and then turning the boiler off in mid-March, the facility could save $2,600 a year in natural gas consumption. Since there are limited preparations to make for this change, this would be nearly immediate savings for that year. In addition to this, there were broken regulators on the radiators. Make sure to double check these subsystems for operability. If the radiators are not functioning properly, the boiler will also drop in efficiency. An alternative that was discussed was adding an integrated boiler control system. This is not a low-cost addition. However, it would provide flexibility to regulate the boiler. For example, the boiler controller could be set to turn on the boiler when it was below 35 degrees Fahrenheit outside, and then turn off when the temperature rises above 35 degrees Fahrenheit. Within the same facility, there were opportunities to review the boiler's steam pipes throughout the facility. On this slide, we see pipes in the boiler room, insulated and uninsulated, and then we see exposed pipes in a room on the first floor, insulated and uninsulated. For reference to, in the lower right image, you can see that there's a reservoir heater working in the background. From these thermal images, we can see the exposed and uninsulated piping is nearly 200 degrees Fahrenheit. And the piping that's insulated, covered with the white insulation, is normalized to the room conditions. There were several examples of the exposed pipe within this facility. If the facility were to insulate those pipes, it was estimated that they could save $1,430 per year. Pipe insulation is a low-cost opportunity, and for this particular facility, the payback would be within 6 months. As noted, the pipes in this are hot, and these temperatures are dangerous to people who could accidentally touch them. Also, this level of heat will age the environment around it, such as the concrete walls. And this heat directly impacts the comfort of the space. This facility had many instances of people opening up windows in the wintertime due to feeling way too hot. Weather stripping is almost always an opportunity to take advantage of. There are 3 different ways to consider weather stripping. We have exterior doors, garage doors, and windows. In the case of windows, insulation would be with caulking. In the values provided, we are considering savings associated with heating a facility, and so this is all cost savings due to heat loss with the lack of proper weather stripping. In order to estimate the savings, the number of cold degree days needs to be evaluated for your particular area where your facility resides. The cost of your heat needs to be considered. In this case, we use natural gas. And then maintaining 70 degrees inside the facility. So how hot are you heating your building to? Also, in this case study, we have considered a wind speed of 4 miles per hour. So taking out the high windy days and the no windy days and coming up with enough wind that you could feel. That's 4 miles per hour. So this was our conservative approach. So in the table provided, we can see that weather stripping on a single exterior door will save around $148 per year. A garage door has savings of $267 per year, and caulking around a leaky window can save you about $22 per year. So now consider how many exterior doors you have, how many garage doors you have, and windows that your facility has. For example, if you had 4 doors, you would have savings of $592 per year, 2 garage doors, $534 per year, and 20 windows is about $440 per year. So total savings for weather stripping would come to $1,566 per year. Depending on what you find in your facility, you might be able to take advantage of funding sources to help you implement those projects. The DEP's Small Business Advantage Grant is for businesses under 100 full-time employees and is a match grant to help businesses upgrade their equipment to make their businesses more energy efficient. There's about $1 million available per year. The grant amount depends on your project, and depending on that project, you can get up to 50% of your equipment costs covered by this grant. Applications are only available through the Commonwealth's online application system, and grants are awarded on a first-come, first-served basis, so you have to act quickly. Budo Brewery is one of our most recent success stories. In 2017, Budo Brewery converted an 84 lumber warehouse into their production facility. After reviewing the facility, there were energy efficiency opportunities they could take advantage of, including updating their lighting and installing a high volume, low speed fan to control and regulate the environmental conditions within the high lofted building. Because they were able to take advantage of the Small Business Advantage Grant, they were able to manage their utility consumption, which has given them the flexibility to increase their production, which led to a new bottling line, a new canning line, and has provided opportunities to hire more employees. All of these improvements were made possible because they were able to manage and control their energy consumption. You can read more about our success stories on our website under About Us and Success Stories. In addition to the Small Business Advantage Grant, there are electric utility rebates for Pennsylvania. On this slide, I have included the Pennsylvania Utility Service Territory map for you. Pennsylvania Power is in the light blue, West Penn Power is in the orange, Duquesne Light is in purple, Pennsylvania Electric is in yellow, PPL is in the dark pink, the light pink is Med Ed, and the darker blue in the lower right corner is PECO. Pennsylvania Act 129 mandates that all electric companies in the state to permanently reduce energy and demand across all customer sectors. The Act 129 programs are funded through a surcharge on your electric bill. And current programs are in phase 3, which means that this program is running through May 31st, 2021. This also means that if you plan on making a change to your facility that will lower your electric consumption, you can apply for a utility rebate. Each one of these providers has a web page for businesses to apply for these rebates. Each provider has their own strategy on providing the rebates, and because these programs are finite, their pre-approval is highly recommended and encouraged. There are a few utilities that even require it. PennTAP can help connect you to your utility rep within your area to assist with rebates if you need it, and we can also assist with the Small Business Advantage Grant. Depending on the scope of your project, an energy service company or ESCO could be utilized. An ESCO is a commercial or nonprofit business providing a broad range of energy solutions, including design and implementation of energy-saving projects, retrofits, energy conservation and energy infrastructure outsourcing, power generation, and energy supply and risk management. In 2015, Erie County participated in a building retuning workshop provided by PennTAP. After that workshop, the sustainability coordinator for Erie County completed a formal walkthrough of several county buildings, documenting what it was seeing, and then in response to those findings, an ESCO was hired to help coordinate and make improvements for those facilities. Based on the last update of the project, County of Erie has seen annual savings of about $296,000 as well for the first year of completion. This was across 6 buildings. The utility savings were estimated at 74,000 CCF in natural gas in the first year, just over 7.3 million gallons of water in the first year, and about 2.2 million kilowatt hours of electricity in savings. The county includes the county buildings included the courthouse, Department of Health, the Department of Human Services, the county prison, the public county safety building, and the Blasco Memorial Library. Building projects ranged from HVAC improvements, retro commissioning of existing equipment, to installing variable frequency drives on motors, replacing toilet valves, and also LED lighting retrofit. There are other methods of funding for small businesses to take advantage of. I recommend going to our website and viewing our July webinar, Funding and Incentives to Implement Energy Projects. Now that you've done BRT and you've implemented projects and you want to improve continuously, you can achieve this in many ways. Consider an energy management system or ENMS for your facility. Continue to benchmark using Portfolio Manager. Continue forward with preventative maintenance programs, upgrade energy savings projects when you can, and also always tell your story from your savings of your current BRT projects. This encourages change within your facility and inspires people to implement future projects. Up next, we have Autumn Seacrest in her discussion on Sustainable Pittsburgh and benchmarking with Portfolio Manager.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you, Alana, for inviting Sustainable Pittsburgh to be part of today's webinar. I'm Autumn Seacrest, Program Manager for Sustainable Pittsburgh. And today, I'll be discussing how you can measure the impacts of your efforts to reduce energy, but also reduce water usage and even waste. I'll start by defining how Sustainable Pittsburgh thinks about sustainability, how that informs our sustainability performance programs, and then I'll show a few examples of actions that we encourage employers to take that reduce energy, water consumption, and waste in the workplace. Then finally, we'll discuss how Portfolio Manager can help you quantify the results of those efforts, including return on investment. So first, Sustainable Pittsburgh derives its definition of sustainability from the 1987 United Nations report, Our Common Future. It defines sustainable development as that which meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. You may have heard of the triple bottom line, or people, planet, profit. Here at Sustainable Pittsburgh, we use economy, environment, and equity, whichever alliterative mnemonic device you prefer. The idea is that sustainability occurs when all of these things are working in harmony with one another and not at the detriment of any one particular piece. And Sustainable Pittsburgh has created a few programs. We call these performance programs to help organizations identify and implement sustainable practices. You'll see that some are targeted to specific types of organizations, such as municipal or small businesses. There's also a broader program, the Sustainable Pittsburgh Challenge, which is open to any employer in southwestern Pennsylvania. So in these programs, we provide some recommended actions that reduce waste, water, and energy consumption. And here's an example, just a few examples of the types of actions we encourage organizations to take to reduce waste. Things like having a compost program in your building or selling or donating used office furniture can reduce the amount of waste output for your organization. And for water, we encourage organizations to do things like install new water-saving faucets or fix leaking plumbing. It's actually pretty extraordinary how much money has been saved just from fixing leaks in some organizations that participate. And then finally for energy, since that is really the primary focus today, we often recommend things like changing light bulbs to LEDs or turning off your computers at the ends of the day, or even purchasing renewable energy or installing it on your own property. But of course, it's also important to know what the impacts of all of these efforts are. Reducing energy usage not only saves your organization money, but can reduce the pollution associated with generating that energy. The US EPA provides comprehensive data on energy generation and the related emissions. This is called the Emissions and Generation Resource Integrated Database, or EGRID. EGRID is much easier to say. It catalogs the environmental characteristics of almost all electric power generated in the United States, including air emissions from nitrous oxides, sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. It also documents net generation and the resource mix, or the methods used to produce that energy in a specific region. Now, if you take a look at these different regions, you'll see that they each have different ways of generating their energy. Our region is the region characterized by the letters RFCW. So you'll see in the region RFCW, we have a significant amount of coal that we use to power our region. And then most of the rest of Pennsylvania, outside of western PA, is characterized by the region RFCE. And so you'll see in that column, RFCE, the generation of energy is quite different in terms of the methods that they use there to generate that energy. And so based on these various regional differences, we can kind of get a picture nationwide of how energy is produced and what its impacts are. And so this is just kind of a visual representation to show you where we are on this map. So you'll see again, most of Pennsylvania is encompassed by the subregion RFCE, but southwestern Pennsylvania is contained in the same region with West Virginia, Ohio, and nearby regions. That's because our energy is produced very similarly in all of these regions. So we've been combined together to generally track what the impacts of that energy generation are. Our regional energy mix results in emissions of certain air pollutants, which the EPA tracks. Pollutants commonly resulting from energy generation include carbon dioxide, which is the one that is getting a lot of attention these days. Carbon dioxide, as you probably know, is a major greenhouse gas, acting to trap heat energy nearer the surface of the Earth. The same is true for methane and nitrous oxide. Both of these gases are stronger greenhouse gases than CO2 alone. You'll often see these three gases combined into a metric known as CO2e, or carbon equivalent. Nitrous oxides are another pollutant that is generated from our regional energy portfolio, and Nitrous oxides contribute to acid rain and help create particulate matter. Similarly, sulfur dioxide contributes to acid rain, smog, and particulate matter, and it also is known as a respiratory irritant and can be problematic for those suffering from asthma, for youth, or for the elderly. And you can see the big difference that our energy mix can make in the emissions of these pollutants. The region encompassed by RFCW, which includes Pittsburgh, you'll see the CO2 emissions, the emissions really of all of the pollutants are much higher than in the region encompassed by RFCE, which includes Philadelphia and most of the rest of Pennsylvania. So here in southwestern Pennsylvania especially, and of course across Pennsylvania, we have a huge opportunity not only to save money by saving energy, but also to reduce the pollutants associated with it. So Energy Star Portfolio Manager is a free tool that allows you to monitor your energy usage, your water usage, and now materials management or waste. And it can provide you with detailed reports as to what your results are in terms of what your efforts have achieved. So we hope that the EPA Portfolio Manager will arm you with the tools that you need to be more strategic about your approach to sustainability by assessing data about your organization, such as your organization's energy use, water use, and waste. You can target your efforts and even set informed and realistic goals for your organization over time. And knowing where you're starting can be helpful for setting those goals. And that's why we recommend organizations set a baseline. What is a baseline? Well, a baseline is generally 12 months of energy bills, if we're speaking specifically of energy. And if you enter those 12 months of energy bills, what happens in Energy Star Portfolio Manager is that they take the weather patterns over the past year and they normalize those weather patterns. So when you have that 12 months of data, you can compare it apples to apples to the next 12 months, even when there is a difference in weather patterns between those 2 years. So let's say that you've entered 12 months of energy bills into Portfolio Manager, and Portfolio Manager tells you that you have a weather normalized source EUI of 142.7 kBTUs per square foot. That would be your baseline. EUI stands for energy use intensity, and energy use intensity is basically a normalized way of looking at how much energy you're using per square foot in your company or your business. So then, of course, you could set a goal based on that baseline. You can say, okay, well, we have this EUI of 142.7 kBTU per square foot, and that's weather normalized. Next year, over the next 12 months, we want to see a 5% reduction in that in our organization's energy use intensity. So in that way, Portfolio Manager can help you inform your goals as you move forward. Okay. And this is what Energy Star Portfolio Manager looks like when you log in. You'll see that it has multiple different pieces here, multiple tabs, but your landing page is generally sort of a dashboard that gives you a very quick overview of where your energy is going or where your water is going. Alana, are you able to help me get into Portfolio Manager from here? If not, that's okay.
Not at this time, but I can send the link out to everybody.
That would be awesome. So in general, Portfolio Manager, you'll see, gives you these trends from your dashboard. You can see there's a source EUI trend, so that gives you the trend in your energy use intensity over the years. And again, that's weather normalized, so you can say, okay, well, in 2008, or somewhere between 2006 and 2008, we had a huge jump in our energy usage, and that jump is not due to an abnormal weather trend, right? So you'll know that when you use Portfolio Manager. Then you'll also see Portfolio Manager has this handy tool that tracks GHG emissions. Luckily, the EPA puts together all of this data into the eGrid so that you don't have to. And that way, you're automatically tracking GHG emissions without any additional effort on your end. Using EPA Portfolio Manager is becoming more and more mainstream. Your organization would certainly be in good company. You'll see here the logos of several of the companies that regularly use Portfolio Manager. In our programs, particularly in the Sustainable Pittsburgh Challenge, the broadest of our programs, we do encourage organizations to sign up and use Portfolio Manager in order to earn credit and points and recognition in our programs, but also to help those organizations continue to save money and be successful in their efforts. And again, back to a screenshot. This one is a little bit better in terms of visibility. But to kind of give you a general idea of what your dashboard looks like, also you'll see here there are My Properties. This is a list where you can see all of your properties and enter the data for each of those properties. So if you have more than one building, for example, you can track the energy, water, and waste output of all of those buildings in this Portfolio Manager from one database or from one point of entry. You'll see some tabs up here at the top: My Portfolio, Sharing, Planning, Reporting, and Recognition. Sharing is something that is useful for organizations that are participating in regional programs to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And this is something that we do here at Sustainable Pittsburgh in the Sustainable Pittsburgh Challenge. Organizations can actually share their information with me through Portfolio Manager. And so then I can go in and look at their data and know from that data what regional trends are happening as a result of all of these efforts combined. And so in order to get started in Portfolio Manager, here's just a general overview of the type of data they request. So the first thing you'll need is your property information. That's pretty basic stuff. You want to know what your building type is. Building type can be things like a school or a university. You can have, you can choose small business, but in general, Portfolio Manager has a bunch of building types that you can choose from, and they already know how those building types tend to be used across the country. And so when you enter your building type, you'll be able to compare your building to other buildings similar to that all across the nation, and you'll be able to find out whether your building is more efficient or less efficient than those in the region or even those across the nation. You'll also need your property type data, so things like your gross floor area, in order to get that calculation of energy use intensity. You need to know how many square feet you have in order to know how much energy you're using per square foot. And then you would want your use details. This is something that goes back to what Alana said earlier about knowing how the people in your building behave. You can enter much of this data into Portfolio Manager as you set up your buildings. And that will help you get a more accurate picture from Portfolio Manager as to how your building is performing. And again, they're using data from all across the nation, from buildings that are similar to yours. So you can really kind of look and compare apples to apples, even based on how your building is being used and not just its building type. And then, of course, you would want to collect your utility bills. We always recommend starting with 12 months if you can. Obviously, if you've just moved into your building and you don't have 12 months of utility bills, that's okay. It's fine to get started with what you have. But Portfolio Manager gives you much, much better reporting capabilities once you have 12 months of data in there. They require the 12 months in order to weather normalize that data. So again, before you have 12 months of data in there, you won't necessarily be able to know whether an energy bump was due to an extremely hot weather event or an extremely cold weather event. But again, start with what you have and get to that 12 months and you'll be able to begin benchmarking your property. So that's just generally a quick overview of Energy Star Portfolio Manager. The website is energystar.gov/benchmark. The greatest thing about Energy Star Portfolio Manager is that it is 100% free to use. It is used by a wide variety of organizations, and because of that, sometimes it can be a little bit challenging to learn how to navigate, especially if you wanted to do some advanced reporting. So another thing that's really great about Portfolio Manager is that they offer regular trainings and tons of support for anyone using the system. And the other thing that's nice about it too is if you do have multiple buildings, or maybe you have more than 12 months of energy data, or you want to add your data for energy, water, and waste all at once, there are ways to do that. So you don't necessarily have to manually type in every single number from every month unless you want to. You can also use spreadsheets that you can actually download from the EPA Portfolio Manager website. And those spreadsheets are already arranged in a template that will allow you to put that data into your spreadsheet and then just upload it all in bulk into Portfolio Manager. They also have web services. There are companies that will electronically enter your utility data into Portfolio Manager through a process of data exchange. And so these are becoming increasingly available to business owners. If you were interested in looking at that, or interested in encouraging your own utility company to provide that type of service, you can kind of check it out at energystar.gov and see what it's all about, see if your current energy provider offers that kind of thing. And if they don't, call them and say something. Ask them if that's something that they would envision in the future. And I talked a little bit about setting goals and things like that. Energy Star Portfolio Manager does have a feature that allows you to set your goals and your baselines. So once you have that 12 months of data entered into there and you have a really solid baseline, you can actually choose, like say that you have more than 1 year of data. Maybe you have 5 years of energy bills and you really want to see how you've done over the past 5 years. You can set your baseline for 5 years ago. And then that will give you a target automatically in the system that allows you to track whether you're reaching your goal over time or not. So that goal of 5%, you can literally track it automatically in Portfolio Manager. And again, I mentioned this before, but I do think it's important to reiterate. Portfolio Manager does have tons of technical assistance. They have on-demand user support and answers to frequently asked questions, there's a link here for you. There's also several webinars that you can attend. You can attend a live Ask the Expert session, and then there are also live and recorded webinars that you can access through the Portfolio Manager Help portal. And I guess that really ends the presentation for me today. That opens it up to questions and answers.
Thank you so much, Autumn, for everything you shared. That was wonderful. We have a couple slides after the question and answers to go through, so if people have any questions right now, that's a good time to ask because both of our presentations are fully done. So I'm opening up the floor for the next minute or two, see what's what. And you can put those questions into chat and we can follow up with that. So if anybody has any questions, now's the time to ask. And if you think of something later and want to ask either one of us, our contact information is at the end of this presentation. You can email us individually and say, hey, I thought of this later on. We can connect with you that way as well. So far, I don't see anything popping up, highlighting for us that someone's triggering a question. I'm going to leave it on for another 30 seconds, though, in case you're typing hard. Well, I'll check also before we close up to make sure if anyone pops a question and we can keep on asking. But just wanted to let everybody know that PennTAP also has more Lunch and Learn webinars. We have one in September, October, and November, all on different topics, discussing different things. Also, to reiterate, all of these webinars are recorded and are located on our website. And you can go through all of them. Recommend going through that July webinar and checking out what other funding opportunities exist for Pennsylvania and small businesses. I would also like to mention that in March 2020, PennTAP will be hosting a BRT conference at Penn State University Park, which is in Center County. Keep an eye out for a save the date. We'll be sending those out as soon as we can. All right, and here is our contact information. So again, if you think of something you want to ask or would like more details on, please feel free to contact either one of us. Our phone numbers are also there. If we'll be sending out this presentation, and I will be able to send out the links that Autumn was referencing as well for everybody. And I really appreciate everybody attending today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Autumn. All right. Everybody, take care.